She opened her door to a stranger, never knowing he was her billionaire ex-husband's secret twin. Rain pounded the roof. Her son slept upstairs, and the man in her living room? He carried a past that could shatter everything. What happens when kindness welcomes in betrayal? Keep watching. It was just past 9 p.m. when the knock came, soft but steady, like it wasn't meant to startle but wouldn't be ignored. Maya froze mid-step in the hallway, a laundry basket in her arms. Rain tapped against the windows, and somewhere down the street, a dog barked into the night. Her son, Jamie, had finally fallen asleep upstairs, his cough still echoing faintly in her memory. She moved quietly to the front door, heart ticking faster. No one came by this late, not here. Through the peephole, she saw a man, soaked, head down, shoulders slumped. His face was shadowed under the porch light, but something in his stillness made her pause. She cracked the door just an inch, keeping the chain on. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice firm but not unkind. The man looked up, blinking through rain. His voice was rough, like gravel softened by regret. I just need a place to dry off. Just for a minute. I'm not looking for trouble." Maya's fingers hovered near the lock. He didn't move, didn't press. Just stood there, dripping and shivering, like the last piece of something that had been breaking all day. She looked him over, no suitcase, no backpack. Just an old coat clinging to him like wet paper, and eyes that looked tired, but not dangerous. Against the smarter voice in her head, she unhooked the chain and opened the door. Just inside, towels by the heater. "Don't touch anything," she said. The man gave a tight nod. "Thank you," he murmured, stepping into the warm light. Steam rose from his coat as he passed. Maya watched him take slow steps toward the hallway, careful not to drip too much. She noticed a small cut on his brow. He didn't limp, but he moved like someone who'd walked a long, long way. "Name?" she asked, still near the door. He glanced back. "Caleb." She gave nothing back, just closed the door behind him with a soft click and locked it twice. In the next moment, Maya handed him a towel, worn and thin but clean. He nodded again, this time with the hint of a thank you he didn't say. She didn't ask questions. Not yet. But her eyes didn't leave him, not for a second. And somewhere, deep in her gut, something itched. Not fear. Not quite recognition. Just something. Maya didn't offer him the guest room, because there wasn't one. But she laid a folded blanket on the couch and pushed the coffee table aside, so he had more room to stretch out. She kept her distance, watching from the kitchen as he peeled off the soaked coat and wiped rain from his neck. Caleb didn't speak unless spoken to, and even then he kept his words small. Like he was used to not taking up space. "You hungry?" she asked, not really sure why she offered. His eyes flicked up, surprised. "I'm fine," which meant he probably hadn't eaten all day. Maya pulled leftovers from the fridge, half a grilled cheese, and some canned tomato soup she'd made for Jamie. It wasn't much, but she heated it anyway. As the soup simmered, Jamie's little footsteps padded across the upstairs floor. The soft creak of his bed frame settled her nerves. He was okay. Asleep. Safe. She glanced over at Caleb. He was sitting on the edge of the couch, towel draped around his shoulders, hands clasped in front of him like he was waiting for judgment. "You got people?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral. He hesitated. "Used to." She didn't press. She didn't want to know yet. Not until she decided whether she could even keep him in her house overnight. When she handed him the bowl, his hands shook a little as he took it. "You sure you're okay?" she asked softly. Caleb met her eyes, finally, and for a second, the look he gave her wasn't just tired. It was grateful, like no one had looked him in the eye for a while. "I will be. Thanks to you." The words were simple, but something about the way he said them felt heavier than they should have. Maya turned away before he could see her reaction. She wasn't used to kindness being directed back at her. Not from a man, not anymore. She busied herself washing a dish that didn't need washing. From behind, she heard the quiet clink of the spoon against the bowl, a sound so soft it nearly made her chest ache. They didn't say much else that night, but before she went upstairs, she turned and looked at him again. Just for a moment. "Bathroom's down the hall," she said. "Lock the door when you sleep. I don't like surprises." Caleb offered a faint smile, as if he respected that. "Good night, Maya." She blinked. She hadn't told him her name. Her stomach tensed, just slightly, but she said nothing. She climbed the stairs, quietly checked on Jamie, then crawled into bed with a mind that would not stop spinning. Morning came too early. Maya woke to the low hum of cartoons from the living room. Jamie was already up, cross-legged on the rug, cradling his stuffed Dino and chewing on dry cereal from his little blue bowl. But what caught her attention wasn't him. It was Caleb, sitting nearby on the floor, sipping the coffee she'd left out. He'd changed into a faded gray t-shirt from her donation box. His cut looked cleaner now and he'd shaved. He looked less like a ghost. "You sleep okay?" she asked, still watching his hands. Caleb nodded. "Didn't think I would. But yeah, couch is surprisingly decent." Jamie looked up with a grin. "Mom, Mr. C knows the voices in Ranger Rob. He said he used to draw cartoons." Maya blinked. "Is that right?" Caleb shrugged, a quiet smile playing at the edge of his mouth. "Just freelance stuff. Nothing big." Maya didn't know why it bothered her. Maybe because her son was already too quick to trust. Or maybe because this stranger had slipped into their morning routine like he belonged there. She poured herself coffee and stood near the counter, eyes narrowed. "What kind of work do you actually do, Caleb?" He looked up from Jamie, met her gaze without flinching. "Used to be in publishing, then some design work, then nothing for a while." Maya heard the honesty, or at least the attempt at it. But something felt off, like someone reciting a version of the truth they'd practiced in front of a mirror. She didn't push further. Not yet. But that unease returned. Same itch she felt last night when he said her name. Then came the knock on her phone screen. A buzz. A text from her supervisor at the clinic. "You missed today, don't come back Monday. We're short. Figure it out." Her heart sank. Jamie had a pediatric appointment. No sitter. No time. She dropped the phone on the counter, rubbed her temples. Caleb stood quietly, watching. "Everything okay?" "No," she snapped too quickly. "Just life." Jamie's laughter broke the tension, but the weight was still there, thick in the air. Maya turned away, blinking hard. She had taken a chance, opened her door, given a stranger warmth and food and shelter. And now, the delicate balance of her world, the job, the schedule, the custody, was starting to tip. All because of one quiet man with sad eyes and a name that wasn't quite enough. Later that week, the heater broke. Not a full breakdown, just enough to make the living room cold and the radiators groan like old bones. Maya was trying to make box mac and cheese while juggling a phone call with the clinic, Jamie's spelling homework, and the smell of something starting to burn. She didn't ask for help. She never did. But Caleb stood up quietly from his place by the window, rolled up his sleeves, and moved toward the clanking radiator with a screwdriver and a kind of quiet focus that didn't ask for praise. 15 minutes later, it hissed back to life. "Didn't know you were a handyman too," Maya said from the kitchen, half sarcastic. He smiled, a little shy. "Not officially, but I watched my dad fix everything himself. Learned by watching. That hit a nerve." Her dad had walked out when she was 12. Ethan, her ex-husband, had thrown money at problems, never once picked up a wrench. And here was this stranger, wiping his hands on a dish towel, like it was the most natural thing in the world to fix what was broken. She set down 2 bowls on the table. "You eat mac and cheese?" she asked. Caleb nodded, religiously. Jamie laughed. "You're weird." Caleb leaned in, playful. "Takes one to know one." Maya smiled despite herself, just for a second, then caught it and pulled it back. They ate around the small table. Her, Jamie, and this stranger who had started blending in too well. Caleb listened when Jamie talked about dinosaurs and dream jobs. He didn't interrupt, didn't fake interest. He really listened. After Jamie went to bed, the silence between Maya and Caleb didn't feel awkward. It felt calm. She sipped her tea on the couch. He sat across from her, nursing his own. "You don't seem like someone who's just passing through," she said softly. Caleb looked up, and for a moment his eyes flickered, like he wanted to say something but swallowed it down. "I was," he finally said, "but I'm not sure anymore." The words hung in the room like fog. Maya didn't know how to respond. She just nodded, the tightness in her chest both familiar and unfamiliar. Trust was dangerous, especially when it felt good. It was a small thing, really. A folded slip of paper, slightly damp, tucked into the side pocket of Caleb's old coat that hung near the back door. Maya hadn't been snooping. She was looking for gloves, Jamie's, to be exact. But her fingers brushed the edge of something smooth. Paper. She pulled it out without thinking. One glance and her world tilted. Ethan Thompson. Her ex-husband's name stared back at her in cold black ink. A hospital billing statement. Local. Dated just a few weeks ago. Maya's heart froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She read it again. Her fingers trembled. Why would Caleb have Ethan's hospital records? She turned, eyes scanning the living room. Caleb was there, sitting on the floor again, this time showing Jamie how to fold paper airplanes from scratch. Laughing, gentle, safe, but the paper in her hand felt like a betrayal. Maya stood there frozen, caught between two worlds, the warmth of the present and the lie that was slowly surfacing underneath it. Caleb, she called, her voice tighter than she meant. He looked up. She walked into the room, the folded bill clenched in her hand like a verdict. You want to explain this? He saw it. His whole body stilled. A full second passed. Then two. Caleb didn't reach for it, didn't flinch, but his eyes changed. That softness gone, replaced by something heavier, older. Maya's voice dropped. Why do you have my ex-husband's name in your pocket? Jamie looked between them, confused. Mom. Maya put a hand on her son's shoulder. Go upstairs, baby. But now, Jamie obeyed, slowly, reluctantly, clutching his half-folded paper airplane. The silence that followed was thunderous. Maya stared him down. Tell me who you really are. And for the first time since he'd arrived, Caleb didn't look tired. He looked like someone who knew the next words were going to change everything. I'm his brother, Caleb said quietly. Ethan's. The words landed like a slap, sharp, cold, and unforgivable. Maya stared at him, her mouth slightly open. You're what? Caleb stood now, slowly, like he didn't want to spook her. His twin. We're identical. Or we were. No, her voice cracked. No, what the hell is this, some kind of joke? You've been in my house, around my son. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't come here to hurt you, Caleb said, his voice low and steady but not emotionless. I didn't come here pretending. I found that bill. I saw your name. And Jamie's. Ethan left it in his car like it meant nothing. He stopped, jaw clenched. I had to see for myself. Maya's fists balled at her sides. So you lied your way into my home? Spied on us like some creep with a guilty conscience. No, he said quickly. Not at first. I didn't plan any of this. I just wanted to understand how my brother could throw away something that looked like a family. Her eyes burned. You don't get to say that. He winced. I gave everything to that man, she hissed. He walked out the second things got real. The second life got hard. And now you show up with his face, his voice, and think you can just fix things. Caleb shook his head. I'm not him. I haven't spoken to him in years. We're nothing alike. Then why hide it? Her voice cracked on the last word. Because I didn't know how to tell you without sounding like the bad guy. I didn't want you to think I was here to take anything. I wasn't. I'm not. He sighed, almost defeated. I wanted to help. And maybe make peace with something I wasn't even part of. The room was silent for a moment, filled only by the soft ticking of the wall clock and the dull hum of the heater he'd fixed just nights ago. Maya took a shaky breath, eyes locked on the man she thought she was beginning to trust. I don't need your guilt, Caleb. I don't need your help. I needed honesty. And you. She turned away, voice tight. You gave me the one thing I promised myself I'd never fall for again. Caleb stood by the front door, coat in hand, shoes soaked once more from the rain that had returned like a second act. He didn't try to explain himself again. Didn't beg. Maya stood in the hallway, arms crossed tightly. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes told the truth. Hurt, guarded, tired. Jamie peeked down the stairs, holding his toy airplane, worry wrinkling his forehead. Is Mr. C leaving? Maya looked up, caught in the middle of past and present. She nodded once. Yeah, baby. He has to. Caleb turned, just enough to meet her eyes. I never meant to lie, Maya. I just didn't know how to come in as his brother and not have you slam the door. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. You were right. He gave her the faintest nod. But then Jamie stepped down, gripping his little plane, and looked at Caleb with wide, pleading eyes. You fixed the heater, Jamie said softly, and you made Mom laugh. She doesn't laugh a lot. Caleb's face cracked, not from pride, but from pain. He crouched down to Jamie's level, voice trembling. I'm really glad I met you, buddy. Jamie stepped forward and hugged him, quick and fierce, like a kid does when he doesn't understand everything, but feels something. Caleb stood slowly, turned to Maya one last time. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me. Maya opened the door, but just as the cold air touched his back, she stopped him. I don't forgive you. Not yet. He nodded, bracing himself. But I know now you're not him. He turned, surprised. Her voice softened. That matters. He smiled, small, uncertain, but real. And then he stepped into the rain, disappearing down the sidewalk, the porch light flickering above her. Maya stood in the doorway a moment longer, watching him go. She didn't know what would come next. But for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone.